Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, guys, this was uploaded 41 minutes ago. Saturday, I guess it's the 27th of October. It's about the Invictus Games. I guess you guys are aware that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, again, just seems to be a huge psyop. I don't know whether any of you guys noticed the tiara that she was wearing. I'm sure we did a vlog on that and archived it on the channel during their wedding. Had the all-seeing eye encrusted uh, with jewels and diamonds into her tiara that she was wearing on the day. Meghan Markle again seems to be an adept and pretty disciplined. In fact, if you do a little bit of research, you won't have to go far to find out that she not only is a yoga practitioner, but also she loves to practice yoga first thing in the morning before sunrise around about 4:30 a.m., which again we've claimed along with Freemasonry, which is the 33rd degree that they refer to, the 33rd vertebrae, and then the pineal gland, Buddhism, Hinduism, and many other religions in terms of the occult disciplines. um, um, have the same essentially religious doctrine, just a different way, I guess, to it, which is about the third eye and man believing himself to be God through certain initiation processes. Again, moving back to Prince Harry more specifically, it's interesting that this individual, like we've mentioned, that there are going to be lesser Antichrist 30, at least this is the Islamic perspective and position about the kind of, I guess, run up to the arrival of the Antichrist. Um, uh, Prior to him, there'll be 30 imposters, as in 30 candidates who will be lesser Antichrists. We've speculated who they are. There's a playlist that exists, and some of it archives a few of them that we believe to be those 30 antichrists that exist, the lesser ones. My personal contention is that Prince Harry or Prince William, either one of them, are one of those as well, which will be the final installment before the arrival of the true Antichrist. So I guess the harbinger to the true Antichrist. But most of the Christian world will be led to believe that this, in fact, again, it's a decoy, right? They want to divert at least some of that demographic to believing that maybe perhaps Prince Harry is the one, and they've deliberately done that by Geomatra and many other aspects, I guess. But my personal concern right now, and I want to draw the attention of our beloved ulama ikram, our scholars, is that this guy is red. Well, he's got red hair, right? And turns out when you do some research, you learn that the pharaonic empires that existed had red hair. Interesting enough, the pharaoh of the Bible and the Quran during the time of Moses had red hair also. We understand that pharaohs had then dispersed at least the pharaonic powers into Europe, and this is where I guess you find a lot of them having to basically establish themselves and by proxy maybe ruling the world. And these are the ruling elites we're referring to, whether that would be the ruling families, the 13 families that exist, as well as the royal families. And these, even the bloodline is preserved, and it's through occult practices, I guess. It's ritual sex magic, and this is how they, I guess, bring birth certain individuals who are hybrids. And this is all the talk about hybridization. In other words, the demonic realm and humanity and merging the two, right? Or you've got transhumanism, which is the male which is man and machine, or you got beast and man, or you have transgenderism, again a huge impetus in that and a lot of support by the elites and powers behind the shadows to kind of bring that into the mainstream. These sort of things are happening right now, but let's move on to what we're trying to discuss, otherwise I'll end up going off on a tangent, which I personally do feel quite strongly, and we'll just have to see although I did contend that Prince William is possibly a candidate, but so it also could be Prince Harry. If you do some research, you'll learn that this guy has certainly acquired some experience in the art of war in terms of going to um, Afghanistan and other locations, and then basically being in the military himself and having that exposure. Also, they seem to be grooming him as the supporter of the underdog. And then you've got the Invictus, I guess, um, Invictus games and all the goodness, um, all um, the occult messages behind that. And I am again is, and for those of you who tune in who aren't Muslims, there's a tradition, a narration by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, that when there's a certain aspect to humanity which is called a nafs. It's almost a self, which is kind of has synergy with your soul, and that particular aspect of us is very much inclined towards haughtiness. It's proud, it's arrogant, it believes in itself, and God created that, and it's part of our actual, I guess, um, part of the layers that actually make us, right? Now, if you feed that particular aspect, then that aspect becomes more overwhelmingly powerful and kind of steers you and drives you. And this is what essentially is at the heart of Freemasonry and other religious doctrines that seek to make man divine, which is again a fallacy. I mean, it's no reality to that, but this is what I am actually means, right? Which seems to be the central logo of the Invictus Games, and it's kind of hidden within that, right? And interesting enough, Prince Harry seems to be at the centre of that. There's a very possible attack that may happen in London, in the city centre soon, and certainly a lot of research suggests that, and there's many competent researchers out there who have postulated the same thing, and that attack, and we've kind of, I guess, built up towards that. For those of you who are following the channel, you would have found that we've archived certain vlogs that support that particular position. It seems that it's kind of been put into predictive programming as well through popular media, and we're trying to maybe highlight that. And what we're saying is maybe perhaps there's going to be an attack, and what's going to result is maybe the Queen dying, which was already postulated in 2017 by us in the 2018 science forecast, which is again archived on the channel, of the Queen dying, and then maybe perhaps we felt that Charles would abdicate, and then Prince William would take the lead, and then Harry would shoulder to shoulder with Prince William, maybe take over the global alliance in order to fight the globe against the antithesis, right? And then most of the Christian world will come to believe or feel that he or Prince William is the Antichrist. I personally think that attack's going to happen soon, and it's going to be manufactured in London, and this is all going to happen soon in succession with this the goodness me the passages of Ezekiel that we've mentioned, 38 and 39, rolling out in Syria, and at the same time you've got everything happening in the Far East as well, and all of this being a powder keg and then setting off in motion just so that they can restructure the globe and consolidate their power further and bring the economy into one currency and global governance, the currencies as we've spoken about, and a global military. And all of this is being done to set the stage for the real Antichrist to come, and we've always postulated that he will claim extraterrestrial origin. But I think a lot of the Christian masses are going to be duped into believing that maybe Prince Harry or Prince William are the ones, and I think they've deliberately done that as a decoy. Iblis Lanatullah is certainly very crafty, and I guess there is it's smokes and mirrors, and there's one decoy after the other, and these are all psyops within psyops, and they're deliberately done just so that they can make sure that they've kind of crossed the T's and dotted the I's. I guess that's exactly what they're doing here. This, I think, is going to unfold very soon. There you go. His obviously Prince Harry in his military regalia stands to reason. Maybe perhaps he's been groomed to take control of the United Nations and bring the militaries together, the military powers, to fight against. Now, I guess the Islamic position is that the uh, Orthodox Christians, okay, which are Christians who are very close to the truth of what Nabi Isa, Jesus, the message that he brought with him, will basically allied with the Muslims, and I guess at least the followers who subscribe to this channel will have now, at least after having experienced all the um, um, false demonization of Muslims, right, and attributing all these heinous acts against, I guess it's state-sponsored terrorism, isn't it, in cahoots with other countries like Saudi and Israel, where they did 9/11, and everything else that's proceeded since and came prior to that, where it was attributed to Muslims. And one thing that I guess I'd reach out to my beloved Christian brothers and sisters about is that you need to be wary that this is deliberately being done by Iblis, by Lucifer, and that is just so that he can divert you away from, again, another light, I guess, that exists in this godforsaken world, which are the Muslims, right? So what they've done essentially is taken what the not even stereotypical, but the actual Muslim as he would outwardly look, right? Which were freedom fighters once upon a time. If you do your research and you go back to the Soviet Union, in fact, America supported who were known as the Taliban back then. Then what they did and supported them with their actual military prowess, right? And these individuals who were true warriors and true freedom fighters, whose freedom was being attacked by an invading nation, and they were just merely protecting themselves and their people and their loved ones, right, and their property, just as you would. I mean, I certainly would recommend all of you, especially those of you who live in the States, never to conceal your firearms, right, and that to keep them, and they're trying to disarm you, right, and there's certainly a reason for that, because other forces are going to invade your country soon, right, and all of that's been staged, along with certain events that will look at least seemingly natural, but these disasters have been manufactured, which is seismic activity as well as flooding, as well as this major tsunami that's been put into motion and I guess staged and will happen soon. All of that, along with the fever camps and everything else. You see, the purpose isn't any independent state or any independent country. There is only one purpose, and it seems all the leaders of the world are in cahoots with one another, and they're steering the resources of that country and the people. So another thing is, I guess, your soldiers, your people, your beloved brothers, sisters, and should basically drop their arms against, at least not with the army itself. Because your resources are being steered and coerced by your leaders who are in bed with the dark forces. And this is global. It's true globally. I mean, I certainly don't see a leader out there who hasn't succumbed to this, or at least any significant leader who has a significant role on the global platform who hasn't succumbed to this, right? And is not exploiting the resources of that country, whether it be their personnel, their people, their power, their economy, their financial prowess, their military prowess. All of that seems to be diverted to serve another purpose, another agenda, which is an agenda of the Antichrist. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect and guide us. So I mean, again, you need to be very careful about that, and I guess become passive. In other words, don't serve the system, all right? And concede and look after your own, right? Your kith and kin, protect yourselves from what's coming, and don't concede your firearms. They want you to do that. This is your right. Your right is to basically protect your own. That's a God-given right, right? So it's sensible to do that. Otherwise, they're going to disarm you. And then the rest is, I guess, I don't have to spell it out, especially those people who subscribe to this channel. They already know what seems to be on the agenda and what's unfolding. So come together, whatever you can in small bands, and look after yourselves, protect yourselves, create your own little kind of community. And subhanAllah, have those sort of plans in place, a contingency in place where you can move to lands that are slightly higher from sea level, and where you can maybe perhaps become self-sustainable and have your own little band where you can protect one another. I mean, if you flock together, then certainly you'll have that much more influence and power and capability and be able to protect yourselves. Again, sorry, I've gone off on a tangent, but more specifically, it seems this is what the plan is. And then this guy will be, during this time, when there's this nuclear attack, there'll be a false extraterrestrial contact that will be staged, and then the world will actually believe during the 7 years of tribulation there's going to be some serious wars that will happen in that, and this is the Islamic position as well in terms of eschatology, and the true Christians are going to ally with the Muslims. I think they're coming round to the fact that it was all this, what they call neuro-linguistic psychology, where they anchored certain terms such as extremism, extremist, right, and demonized Muslims and Islam. It seems it's kind of having um, um, backfiring on them, where a lot of the world is now curious about this religion and want to find out more about it so that they can make their own minds up about who these people are. And I think they've deliberately created a boogeyman in the Taliban, where they created another fringe group which looked like them, acted like them, speak like them, was from the same region as them, and then finance them in order to create this chaos, and then sell that version of the Taliban to the world so that the world doesn't incline towards them. Because what we understand Islamically is that these are the very same individuals who are the true freedom fighters, who are very, very honest, very principled individuals, very sincere, very kind, very soft-hearted, but yet warriors when they need to be, and who can protect them or their own. And this is where the army of the Imam al-Mahdi will come from. It seems Afghanistan is at the center of Khorasan. Khorasan is a location that the Prophet ﷺ, Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, had basically pointed out and drew the attention of the Muslim followers to, is where the army of Imam al-Mahdi will come. And Khorasan, the center of Khorasan, just happens to be before they started dividing and conquering and creating new borders and boundaries and renaming even countries and changing the map again. Deliberately and by design, because don't forget these plans have been unfolding for a millennia or more by Iblis, by Lucifer, so that we don't basically then realize what's really happening and which place is which in terms of biblical narrative or Islamic narrative in terms of eschatology. It's just that much more difficult. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. All of this has been done by design, but that seems to be Khorasan. The center of Khorasan is Afghanistan, and then surrounding it are the borders and the boundaries of Iran, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Pakistan, right? There's many countries, the edges of their borders and boundaries come within Khorasan, which used to exist in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, which is around about 1400 years ago, subhanAllah. So this is where the true warriors will come from, and these are the guys which Islamically we believe will be the force and the strength and the backbone behind the army that will serve the guided one, Imam al-Mahdi, who will seek to bring justice to the world and turn it over on its head from all the zulm, which is oppression that's happening, and bring peace, try to bring peace in the world, and will be successful considerably, and do so with the reality in mind that Jesus is to arrive and then take over the reins and basically lead the world into a golden age, as it were. So, subhanAllah, this is what we understand and believe, and I think it's really important that the my Christian brothers and sisters in humanity actually understand that this is essentially, from the little knowledge that I do have, the Islamic perspective on things. And there are certainly a lot of people who have been very kind and very generous and very sincere with their encouragement and their words. Some have actually asked to kind of maybe explore the eschatology on other platforms even further, but sadly I'm genuinely unable to kind of entertain that, simply because I really am very busy and tied up with other commitments as well, and I do my level best. There are some individuals who get upset when I post things in Arabic. I can only apologize. The channel was initially and always has been set up for the purpose of archiving all the content that augments the science PDF, and this was only done so that I could engage a scholarly discussion on all of these end time signs and what I've had and what's happened in the process, and this is by default, and I welcome it. I mean, it's not something that I've got anything I'm not averse to. Is that I've had other individuals subscribe to the channel. Please understand, I haven't monetized this channel. I don't intend to. It just serves one purpose, and that is to archive the content, have a discussion. I learn from the input of you guys who tune into this channel as well. I certainly don't have the monopoly over what's happening. These are all just postulations through what we see unfolding throughout the world. We're trying to make sense of it. We're doing that together. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God has spread knowledge throughout everyone. No one individual and certainly no one faith has the monopoly over what really is happening over around the globe. We basically learn from everyone, and this is within the wisdom of God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to do so. Those of us who humble ourselves in front of certain, in front of this knowledge that we don't really have the monopoly over knowledge, are the ones again. And there's the story of Musa alayhi salam, Moses in the Quran when he meets Khidr alayhi salam, and prior to that, where he claims to have all knowledge or maybe being more knowledgeable than anyone else on the face of the planet. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God, humbles him through a certain experience and finds that there's other knowledge that he finds himself lacking in, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed that on someone else during his reign and during his prophethood. So there's a lot of wisdom that can be gleaned from that. There are many brothers and sisters who don't share my faith. I promise you I definitely benefit from your input, and I really appreciate you. I continue praying for you, and from my heart I'm asking you guys to pray for me as well. We don't have the monopoly to praise to God as well, and I certainly don't claim that as a Muslim, and your prayers do reach God, and God does answer everybody's prayers. None of us has the monopoly over that. We've got a very, very generous creator, God. You know, I haven't got words for who our creator is, and I can't claim to have those words, but our creator has created what's around us, and we see the beauty in that, subhanAllah, and everything that comes from our creator is beautiful. And certainly akhlaq, manners, behavior, how we respond, how we expect things from people, and what our expectations are should basically kind of reflect these attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, of our creator, and we should dispense those same attributes to his creation, and we then hope that God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will extend those same attributes to us whilst judging over us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Again, jazakallahu khairan wa ahsanu jaza for your time. I'm sorry it's been a while. I've kind of maybe added something. This was pressing me, and I thought I'd just archive it to the channel. Again, thank you for your time.